Hello, and welcome to the Astro Energy Astrology Show podcast with astrologer Shelley Overton.
Hi, friends, and welcome to the September 2nd, 2022 edition of the Astro Energy Astrology Show. With me, your astrologer in Orlando, Florida, Shelley Overton. I am excited to have you here today. We're going to go over some horoscopes for the week and maybe touch on Keanu Reeves' chart, which is kind of one of the charts that I think follows me throughout my life because he was born 8 days before I was. So we're going to take a look into him. Okay, so let's go over the week first, and then we'll see where we're at with everything. Okay, today, September 2nd, we have Moon in Scorpio, an emotional moon, not going to lie. I am definitely feeling the emotional energies today. If you're not familiar with Scorpio, Scorpio can be very deeply emotional. It likes to go below the surface. It is a sign that feels everything as if it is their own. And I am a Moon in Scorpio person myself. So whenever the moon is in Scorpio, I instantly dive down to the depths and feel all the feels. And so you may be feeling that as well yourself if you see this tonight on the eve of Moon in Scorpio. But if you are seeing it with the next moon, the moon goes into Sagittarius at 6:39 p.m. There can be a little overlap, but generally we feel the energy shift. And moon in Sagittarius is a much more optimistic moon. It connects to the optimistic sign of Sagittarius, and it is the traveler, the seeking of spiritual energy. It is a sign that is connected to religion. It is the religious seeker, where maybe Capricorn is the structure of religion, so the churches, and then Pisces is like the energy of understanding, the sage, the wise one, that kind of thing. But Sagittarius is the seeker of spiritual knowledge and the mystic. This will probably get posted under Sagittarius moon. And then right after that, Mercury in Libra is opposite Jupiter, which rules Sagittarius at 9:49 p.m. And Mercury is communication. It is in the sign of Libra, which is marriage and partnership. And it opposes Jupiter in Aries, which means Aries is the energy of action and the masculine. It is also energy that kind of gets associated with quick, brash action and maybe tantrums, anger, emergencies. It's drive. It is new energy. It comes in like I think if you are into tarot, which I've been watching or looking at a lot of tarot readings this week. Tarot, the card Ace of Wands or Ace of Swords. Swords are under the rulership of Aries. And so we get this really strong, brash energy. And then Mercury puts our mindset in love and partnership and balance. And so Jupiter in Aries can bring us a little out of balance, but it seeks the balance opposition. And so, we have the brash, self-interested energy of Aries and the cooperative, receptive energy of Libra. And so we'll see that tonight on Friday. I'm just going to quickly go through the week and probably not touch on a great deal of the details until maybe the end of the week. But Saturday is a Sagittarius day. It looks fairly promising with a trine to Jupiter in Aries, sextile to Mercury in Libra. Moon in Sag is opposite Mars in Gemini. So there will be some opportunity for travel and happy times early on Saturday. Then there's a square in the afternoon of Moon to the Sun in Virgo and a trine to Chiron in Aries later in the day. So I see that as kind of a trine to Jupiter is going to be a little bit more difficult, I think, emotional when it comes to actions taken and people of foreign descent. Then sextile with Mercury and Libra is positive and cooperative, but it's early in the morning, so I don't know if we'll really do much with that. And then Mars in Gemini opposite the moon is going to be more, possibility of accidents because of the Mercury energy associated with Mars. So just be careful of that. But the opposition means that we're going to be frustrated a little bit because, well, it is also a very like fun party kind of energy, very social energy, because we've got the energy of Sagittarius and Gemini, which are definitely a couple of signs that like to party and have fun and be social, but they're opposite. So opposites do attract. So you never know, something might happen there with sex appeal. Moving on to Sunday, we have Venus entering Virgo overnight. It's over the time zone, so it's 9:05 p.m. Pacific and 12:05 a.m. on Monday Eastern. We have Moon entering Capricorn in the evening at 10:03 p.m. with the Moon in Sag doing an inconjunct to Uranus, a sextile to Saturn in Aquarius, and a square to Neptune, trine to Venus and Leo throughout the day. So the energy is Earth, air, water, and fire. So we'll hit kind of all bases throughout the day. And I would say Venus in Leo in trine to a Sagittarius moon is going to be very cooperative for, again, socializing, things like that. And I put down good for money from, the Venus in Virgo. It's going to be money from work. And Monday is Labor Day. So it is a Labor Day holiday weekend. And it's bad for things like race relations, Black Lives Matter, even men, because we have an Aries energy, a Capricorn in conjunct to Mars in Gemini, and also a square of the moon in Capricorn to Jupiter in Aries. And then also Chiron in Aries. At the end of the day, there's a square to the moon. So let's see what else. Harsh for race relations is what I wrote for that. The 6th is a good day for long-term goals and materialization of things. Moon is joined up with Capricorn Pluto that day, and there's also a sextile to Mercury. There's a trine to Mercury, and at the end of the day, the moon goes into Aquarius at 11:41 p.m. Eastern. And so towards the end of the day, which would be, the evening between 6 p.m. and close to midnight, you're going to have void of course energy. So not much will happen in the evening, but it is a time where the last aspect is going to be a connection to Pluto. And so you're really looking at a deep systematic shift or a mentality shift, or things around the system, around the restriction and responsibility, ownership, structure, dogma. Things have to be a certain way because we've always done it that way. That's going to be challenged a little bit with the Aries energy. And then Wednesday, we've got Moon in Aquarius. Wednesday starts out with an inconjunct to Venus in Virgo at 4:04 a.m. Eastern, and that's going to be a little bit of friction around mental acuity. But what it is we're probably going to be a little bit more on edge, a little bit more anxiety at that time, because Venus and the moon, both usually watery, receptive energies, emotional energies, are in mental energy. So our minds go round and round. And then Jupiter in Aries sextiles the moon in Aquarius, which gives a drive and a direction to the mental energy. And Mercury in Libra, again, air, trines moon in Aquarius. So again, ramping up more anxiety around relationships, but also lots of mental energy being put into relationships. 4:13 p.m. Eastern, Mars in Gemini trines the moon in Aquarius. So it's going to be the drive. This is an energy, honestly, Wednesday afternoon, that I would say if you're being careful about accidents, that's the time to be careful, because Mars in Gemini means we're taking quick action, quick kind of self-absorbed action. And the moon in Aquarius means that things that we thought might be going a certain way may change. So it's more opportunity for energies shifting on a dime and not going the way we thought. So if we're anticipating a car doing this and then does that, it can be a problem. So just be careful. And then Sun in Virgo, again, Mercury ruled, in conjunct to Chiron in Aries. So that's a wounding around men. Moon in Aquarius sextile Chiron in Aries also, but sextiles are good, cooperative energy. So we're going to feel that more overnight if you're awake in the night. And then in conjunct to Sun in Virgo overnight as well. And into the morning, 12:50 a.m. on Thursday And then 1:04 a.m., that's the sextile to Chiron with the moon and the inconjunct to the sun in Virgo. And so that energy is the more mental energy, and then a desire to manifest something around beauty and, the arts, which is Chiron. But it is also a wounding around man, so that could mean something might come up. But it is a sextile, so I think it's okay. I'm not going to worry about it, actually. So we're not going to like extrapolate any negatives from that. Thursday, square to Uranus and the moon, and Uranus is in Taurus. So it is money, it is chaotic market energy. Just know that that's coming in. And it's also something going on with a conflict in relationships or marriage. Saturn in Aquarius joins the moon in Aquarius, 8:34 a.m. and immediately becomes void of course until the moon enters Pisces late in the evening. So the whole day on Thursday, moon is void of course. It might be good for really holding up and going back over some kind of emotional energy and things that are more sensitive, wanting to reevaluate where you're at with your desires, with your vision for things. And then Friday the 9th is going to be Mercury retrograde. We're probably really going to go over the Mercury retrograde next week, but because you're going to watch this in the week approaching, which means that the energy is also going to be coming in. Mercury retrogrades in Libra. It will get back into Virgo, but it is in Libra when it retrogrades. So it means that we're going back over our emotions and our mental energy, intellect, ideas, how we perceive relationships and marriage at this time. Mercury rules Virgo, it rules Gemini. Because we have the Mars energy in Gemini at this time, but the moon, or excuse me, Mercury will be in Libra. That's a positive aspect by trine, but it is also an emotional energy. So I do foresee situations around communication, around duality in marriage and partnership and relationships, definitely getting the focus and the spotlight for the course of this 3-week retrograde. My birthday is September 10th, Saturday. We'll probably talk about it again next week, so I'm not going to harp on it this week. Okay, so let's do our zodiac for the different signs this week. Okay, Aries, you have the energy of Jupiter retrograde in your first house. That may mean that your ideas about expansion and your ego is probably going to be more readily bruised at this time. Jupiter is opposite Mercury at exactly 6 degrees right now. So thoughts around marriage and partnership are kind of coming to a head. Jupiter is the planet of transformation and transition. Mercury is our ideas and what we think about that partnership. They are kind of at odds with the opposition. So Jupiter is expanding our own personal desires to the detriment of the partner. And Chiron at 15 Aries is going to give even more conflict to that opposition. So know that as Mercury is going to retrograde, of course, like I said, in a week, but we'll continue to move forward and get closer to an opposition energy of Chiron, like I said. And so that's going to kind of bring the mental energy to a head if you're not feeling totally comfortable with the energy, emotional or mental, that's surrounding your marriage or partnership. It's going to get more friction as we go along in the week. Pluto in Capricorn is trine to Uranus and North Node at 15. So the North Node is on a world point at 15. So this is a significant time for events to happen with regard to world current stories in the news and leaders and countries, etc. I think we all know that Uranus is a planet that strongly connects to what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. So, Uranus is retrograde right now within 3 degrees of the world point. I know they sent in a team of people to look at the nuclear power plants that could possibly have gotten hit, and they want to make sure that everything's okay with that. So I'm hoping, we do it every week, knock wood, that everything's okay with that. Yeah, and then the sun is in Virgo in the house of work for Aries, which means you're very busy. Venus is at late degrees Leo, so leadership coming in, concentrated need to really become the leader right now for you. And over the course of the week, the moon is going to be in Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces on Friday and Saturday of next week. And so your focus this week is marriage, relationships, commitment, travel, higher spiritual growth, and career, ending with some energy in connection to people through work and cooperation with people you work with. And then ending in Pisces energy is the subconscious. So next week we'll be dealing with subconscious issues, subliminal issues. Okay, I think that's all. Mars and Gemini's communication. So just know that you're probably going to be a little bit more aggressive in your communication. You may be dualistic or duplicitous. So say one thing, do another. A duality of Gemini is coming in, and that's your house of communications, Aries. Okay, Taurus. Your energy is really concentrated in the first house with Uranus. And so the North Node Uranus conjunction is really focusing on health, focusing on how you eat, what you're doing in the physical, tangible realm to reflect where you're at in how you see yourself in the world value-wise. So it is values, it's money, it's love, it's are you feeling valued as a person? Because it's your first house in Taurus, and this is Sun, Moon, Rising. It is about, are you feeling valued, but you're feeling like you want more alone time, or you want to be doing things that you want to do and have maybe a different drive towards connection to friends and the people that are in your community. And so you may be changing your community, and that's kind of a destiny energy in your life right now. Mars is in your second house in Gemini, so it's double ways of making income. It's also looking at your dual nature when it comes to money. Maybe you are very grounded and regimented one day, but then very generous or free flowing with the money the next day. It's also love. And so you tend to have two people or more on the line at the same time. You've got the sun in your house of romance. And because it's in Virgo, you're a little more nitpicky than average people who are looking for love. And maybe that's being triggered right now. And then Venus, as she gets closer to going into Virgo, she's going to get a bit more nitpicky, but end degrees of Leo. So look out, really, Venus at end degrees of Leo can be a fraud energy, especially with the energy of Scorpio moon. So when moon gets, that would be today, which is going to be moot by the time this is up. But Friday, when the moon is late Scorpio, squaring Venus in late Scorpio, that does relate to money. Fraudsters are out and about, so just be very cautious. Anytime throughout the year, every month, when there are Leo planets late degrees squaring late degree Scorpio planets, no, watch out for other people trying to take advantage of you. Okay, Pluto still at your midheaven, is going to be there for a while. And so it's career, it's taking ownership of your life. Stop telling others what to do as much and really just own your own stuff. Saturn and Aquarius in the house of people you meet from career, people who can help you make money in your career. That is retrograde. Saturn retrograde acts more optimistic. Maybe you're meeting more people and trying to create new friendships through career. And then Neptune, Jupiter, Chiron in your 12th house. Well, Neptune's kind of, it is in your 12th house, but it could also be in your 11th house. So it's more sensitive around and sentimental around the way things have been with friends and people in your community. And then Jupiter in Aries, Chiron in Aries in the 12th, you're really having some subliminal energy around masculine energy and you're probably restricted a little bit more, and maybe even your mentality around money is having to be reviewed. And Jupiter, again, it's spiritual growth, but it's spiritual growth focused on masculine energy and where you put your drive, where you see, maybe you feel you haven't been listened to, or you haven't been like your vision of things isn't really cooperative right now. And so you're not able to really manifest what you're trying to manifest right now. Sorry if I'm a little fast on these readings, but I feel the energy really ramping up. I haven't had lunch either. And so I can feel a lot of mental energy coming in. Probably should clear the space. Let me clear it real quick. Okay, Gemini, you've got Mars in your first house. So while Aries has a lot of Mars energy because it's the ruling planet, having Mars in the first house does create a lot of energy and self-interest, but it's in Gemini, which can mean it's triggering your need for connection to other people. You're focused on neighbors, you're focused on siblings or friendships and doing more social activities. You can potentially throw tantrums. And in Gemini, you're going to also potentially say things that are very blunt and hurtful, or are much more inclined to just give a lot of pedantic information, trivia, things like that, saying, this is what I know, and maybe a little bit more know-it-all energy coming in with that. And then as the moon is in Sag over the weekend, that's in opposition to Mars. So you're going to feel that a little bit more in your marriage and partnership house. So, you could be at odds with somebody. Maybe you're not able to take action or go where you really want to go for the weekend. Or if you're in higher vibration, you can live in synergy and there's cooperation between the moon and Mars. And then you find that your partner wants to do the same thing you do, maybe have some kind of nature walk or do something around the home that really speaks to both of you. Music is a really good thing to do with the Sagittarius moon. Like I said, anything with the lower half of the body being active and nature. Yeah, those are the areas that Sagittarius likes, and also spiritual growth. So maybe a spirit fair if there's one around you. You've got all the Neptune Jupiter energy up in the house of cooperation with people from career. And so there's going to be a little bit more stress there because Jupiter is transformation and he's retrograde and he's heading closer to Pisces energy up there. So we're revisiting the energy of sentimentality and people we used to know as Jupiter gets closer to this energy. I think it really gets into Pisces in November. Yeah, the end of October, actually close to Halloween, Jupiter gets back into Pisces, and that's going to be an extremely sentimental time. I'm going to give you a heads up now. It is the energy that probably is more closely linked with death from illness, transitions in general. Jupiter and the end degrees of Pisces together, basically, we're going through a collective transition and saying goodbye to people. So that can take many forms, but flooding, it could take pandemics, or anything that deals with fluid or the ocean, people being swept away in boats, things like that. Just not particularly pleasant, but I'm just letting you know, heads up. End of October, especially because it's also Scorpio timeline, going to be a big death energy in the news and groups of people making their transition. So I'm just giving you a heads up with that. Let's see what else. Venus is in Leo. That goes into, well, it's somewhere between the third and the fourth house, depending on where the cusp is for you. But I'm just going to say it's the end degrees of the third house going into the fourth, and then the sun is in your fourth. And so Venus in late Leo, like I said before, the fraud energy is really strong coming in anytime we have late degree moon in Scorpio squaring any energy in late Leo. Let's see. Venus is going to be going into Virgo. Sun is in Virgo, so of course it is Virgo season, and that is home and family for you, much more busy around the home. Mercury is in Libra in the fifth house, and so you're looking and thinking about partnering up and looking for romance, balance in the family with children at this time. And then ongoing transit of Pluto in Capricorn, which of course is your eighth house of death and rebirth and commitment. So as Pluto retrogrades, you're reviewing your commitments to your partner and thinking about whether or not it's beneficial for you to stay together, maybe legally. Money, joint finances could also be an issue. Yeah, so I think that's, oh, and Saturn in Aquarius retrograde still, which is up in your ninth house. And so there's more opportunity for travel and freedom at this time for Gemini. Okay, Cancers. Cancer, you have Neptune up on your midheaven. And so that's, dreams and fame. And there's a lot of fame energy going on in your chart. Jupiter is transiting your 10th house of career. And so because it's retrograde again, there's review of what you've been doing. You're trying to find out how things are going to work out in the near future with career and transition transformation. And as Jupiter goes back into Pisces, there's a learning lesson, a learning opportunity in the end of the year. Next year, you're going to have a lot more opportunity for growth and forward momentum as Jupiter goes direct in Aries in your house of career. Uranus in Taurus joined up with that North Node, very strong fate moment, time of change, looking for opportunity to have some more strong energy around your own truth coming out, your own abilities to call the shots around cooperation in career and community. Mars in your 12th house in Gemini, really impatient, intellectual energy. You've got a lot going on in your brain. This is the energy, Cancer, rising, moon, and sun. I would tell you to get a journal and start writing it down, getting it out of your brain. It's going to just be like constant, nonstop talking up in your mind right now. And then, of course, air energy, Mercury, is about marriage and partnership, but also it falls in your house of home and family. So there may be something shifting going on around there and what you're thinking of, what's going on with the partner. And so maybe some of the worry with Mars and the Mercury energy is about whether or not you're going to move forward, or if you have more than one person that you're connected to romantically, it's going to be going round and round the brain. Venus is in your second house and about to go into your third. So she's really pushing you to take some leadership roles, especially bringing in money, do things that are creative and romantic with a partner. Sun in the Virgo energy, this is siblings, spending more time with siblings, and again, neighbors, having social energy with neighbors, or maybe getting a little bent out of shape with neighbors, being more finicky. Okay, Saturn for you is up in your 8th house, and that's again, it's finding some freedom around joint finances, but the career shifting, maybe wanting you to commit to a partner in a business at this time. But right now, I would tell you, with the majority of the planets retrograde, it is not a good time necessarily to move forward with things. It is a good time to do tasks and administrative work, and for you, that usually falls around the home. Leo, we have the energy of Venus leaving your first house and moving into your second soon, and joining the sun in Virgo in your second. So of course, money is going to be coming from all efforts you make around work. And also there could be an opportunity for you for love in the workplace. And you're going to probably feel a little bit more put upon right now, because Venus will expand the desires you have around the analytical side of things and being a loner, honestly. So interestingly, it's kind of a dichotomy, because Virgo is the hermit, but Venus in Virgo means you're more desirable when Venus is in the second house in Virgo. And people really recognize your feminine qualities and your brain, but it can also, in the lower energy, be much more nitpicky and critical. So just be careful and be aware that that may be coming out of your life right now. Mercury is in Libra in your third house of communications and short distance travel. And it's a really good time for cooperation with family, siblings, etc. Yeah, it's a lot of mental energy, but it's also opposing Jupiter right now. And so there is a possibility of some travel and some altering of actions taken, because Jupiter is in Aries. Neptune is in your 8th house of joint finances and commitment. So there is this strong connection to bringing in money through more metaphysical ways or means, and much more sensitive psychic energy with that Neptune in the 8th house, extremely psychic and aware. Uranus in your house of career, again, very strong energy, and has been for quite a while now, like I would say 5 to 7 years, of really trying to get you into an entrepreneurial role and have much more freedom around career. It could also connect you to a desire to change your diet, to be in agriculture, to have more to do with plants, money, Trying to think of what else. Estates and land and property, things like that. Mars in Gemini is in your house of friends and soul group associated with career and life purpose. And so there is a lot of socializing going on right now in that area of your life. Pluto is still in your house of work, but on its way out. Next year, when it moves into Aquarius, it's going into the house of marriage and partnership. So there will be some shifts and changes around jobs. And it's interesting because Pluto is very much deep depths of emotion. And in Capricorn, it can clamp down on some of the emotionalism and be much more practical. And when it goes into Aquarius, it is kind of along the lines of intellectual energy that practical can be, but it moves into more imaginative, creative areas of intellect. So you will be bringing in kind of unexpected energy next year associated with marriage and partnership. It could mean if you are married, especially with Saturn at n degrees of that same energy and moving out of that area of your chart with Pluto moving in, it could mean there is a new energy coming in for you while an old one is going out. And so potential shift of partners in marriage at that time. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. There's a potential for it because we all have free will. So yeah, that's pretty much what I see for you at the current time. Moon is going through the romantic area, your work sector for part of the week, beginning next week. It's going into your marriage house in Aquarius and commitment house late next week into the weekend. So that's the energy you can really focus on this week emotionally. Okay, Virgos, happy birthday. You've got Mars and Gemini in your career house. And let me double check that. Yeah, I never look at the Virgo energy for my chart. That's so weird. Yeah, Mars and Gemini in your career. So dual careers. It could also be writing, communication, broadcasting, lyrics, and especially with Uranus and Taurus, you're getting some strong Taurus energy with Uranus, really channeled energy around music, especially if you're a musician. Men tend to pick up more of the musician energy in the Sagittarius sector, and it kind of has a different vibe when it's in a woman's chart. But for men, it's like music, and for women, it's like comedy. I don't know why, but that's just kind of the assigned energy that I give it. But definitely Uranus and Taurus in the Sagittarius house can also bring more alternative spiritual growth and spiritual expression. And also travel is more unusual with Uranus in this house, and maybe money can be made through travel and import export business, retail. You've got Jupiter transiting your 8th house of death and rebirth. So you may have had some interactions with people recently who did make their transitions. It is also youth. So hopefully it wasn't anyone who was young, but it is, I would say, just be very careful, especially if you know younger people. It is a strong energy, and this is probably true for everyone, Jupiter and Aries. It is a stronger energy for suicide with youth right now. And that just happened the end of August, I believe, that Jupiter retrograded. So yeah, in August. And so just know that the energy, it relates to that, and be very engaged with your youth, especially if you've got Virgo people. The Virgo energy puts Aries in the 8th house. So it might be more prominent in what you hear about. My daughter had a bunch of suicide prevention posters go up at her apartment complex right at the end of the last semester, the beginning of the fall semester. So we speculated potentially somebody, did something in her apartment complex to warrant all these posters going up. So just be really aware of that energy right now and check in with the youth that you know. Saturn in Aquarius in your house of work and health. So this is ankles as far as the body's concerned, and Saturn in work means career aspects, but also Aquarius is entrepreneurship because Saturn is retrograde. You may have taken the leap into entrepreneurship and are questioning it, or maybe having some administrative energy or systematic energy, things in the structure of the business that you're having to go over. Venus in Leo and degrees is putting a lot of your subliminal energy, your desire to be out of the spotlight. Leo in the 12th house with Virgo rising means that we do have the desire to be recognized and to be given kudos and valued by people. But in the 12th house, it can also make it hidden, that people may not know that we have these desires for, ego stroking. But Venus moving into your first house is going to, again, bring out a lot more Virgo energy, analysis, criticism, extra attention paid to the minute details of day-to-day living, and probably make you a little bit more self-conscious around other people. And so Virgo, you're probably a little bit shy getting to know other people. Until you get to know them, you're not going to really let your guard down. And then Mercury in your second house of romance and money in the sign of Libra. So you're thinking more about how you can bring money into the partnership at this time, and potentially look for a partner if you haven't had one recently, or maybe you're going to be making a transition with an old partnership to a new one. So it's balance. Mercury in Libra triangulates, so there could be 3 people. And also Jupiter in Aries in the opposite side of the chart for you, again, is information coming in about Jupiter in your 8th house is sales, and maybe you were looking into selling joint property. So there's that energy in the chart as well. Okay, let's see, I think that's all. Yeah, Pluto still in romance, creativity, and children. So really, what I see Pluto and Capricorn in the 5th house for Virgo rising is really letting go of our children as they're coming into their own. That really says, hey, the children are now mature. You are having to let go of the control, and the Pluto transition into the house of work and health next year will really be kind of like the catalyst to get that empty nest syndrome transition to the next stage, where you find the second part of your life getting your own, like focus on yourself and hobbies and other things around work, etc. Okay, second half of the charts. Libra. Libra energy right now, Mercury, of course, in Libra. That's what's going on with you, with opposite Jupiter in Aries. So this can be a transition or transformation of your marriage and partnership. Because Libra rule, it basically turns the chart upside down. Aries is the natural ruler of the first house, but in a Libra rising chart or a Libra chart, that puts Aries in the house of marriage and partnership, and Libra in the house of identity. So you are very strongly linked to having a partner. You need a partner, you like a partner, you do better when you have a partner. But within that partnership, you do have to have a lot of freedom and a sense of self. So that's kind of the energy that's being triggered for you right now, Libra. Sun in your 12th house, a little bit more sensitive and wanting alone time. You've got Pluto in your house of home and family. So again, also transitions, maybe transitions around elderly or parents coming in for you over the next couple years, or at least a shift around parents and home and family with the structure that you deal with. Aquarius, Saturn in your 5th house of friendship. So you are more friendly right now and wanting to be around friends and community, but Saturn retrograde, it can be more like Jupiter, but it does also restrict. So you're really having to adjust the energy and what you expect out of those that you interact with in a friendship level. Jupiter in Aries, we discussed that. Neptune in your 5th house makes it a little bit more difficult to really get tasks done because you are kind of distractible. You absorb energy of those around you. And so if you're surrounded by a bunch of Virgos, you're going to be very productive. If you're surrounded by, Pisces or more water signs, you're probably going to be a little bit more social and not as productive. Uranus up in your 8th house, that's going to be more freedom from the financial burden. It is in Taurus, so you're looking for new and unusual ways to earn more money for the spouse and marital situation. Mars in Gemini up in your house of travel, so it will bring lots of opportunity to travel, probably even socially. It could be work, but it's probably more social or even familial because Gemini is siblings. So maybe it's the time to go see siblings soon. Venus in your 11th house. Yeah, really social. Again, remember your chart is reversed to a natural chart. So anything interpersonal or, one-on-one tends to be done in groups. So Venus in Leo, it's the leader, but it's leader of groups. And so it's going to be a really social time for you around other people in larger groups. And I think that's what I see for you, Libra. Had to get some food. I was getting a little dizzy. Okay, Scorpio. Scorpio, you've got the moon at the last degrees of your sign today, and this is Friday the 2nd, going to be in Sagittarius over the weekend. So a little more optimistic, a little less stressed and intense, as we know moon and Scorpio can be. And so time with friends, doing something fun and active. Mercury in your 12th house with Libra opposite Jupiter. So Mercury is just into your 12th house and it's in Libra. So you're thinking about balance, you're thinking about partners, and your mind's probably popping along, having a lot of thoughts. And then Jupiter opposite means that there's some energy of transition and transformation around kind of the ego. And Jupiter in Aries is very brash, new energy. It's like children and tantrums. Jupiter retrograde acts more like Saturn, so there's restriction of action, and it's in work. So maybe work right now isn't giving you the fulfillment you would hope, and it is sales. So work can be around sales, and maybe there's a marketing aspect to your career. Jupiter in that sign usually expands, so it has been expanding, but of course now that it's retrograde, it's acting more restrictive. Jupiter is going back towards Pisces, and the Pisces energy is in your 5th house of romance and children, and it is also friendships. So with Jupiter moving that way, you will be going back into Pisces the end of October, and so there will be some transformations going on with friendships and how you see them and what you're getting from them. Also, Jupiter will join up with Neptune. And so Neptune is about your ideal vision of what you want. And Jupiter is transformative and expansive. So it's giving you a second opportunity to really see if you're getting what you want from the dream. Then what is the vision? Is the vision manifesting the way you want it to? And what might need to be changed or altered? And it is a freedom seeking energy, Jupiter. And so you're going to be really evaluating where the romances are going and what's going on with your kids and the dynamic and interaction emotionally, because it is Pisces. Pisces is very deep emotion and psychic awareness. Saturn is in your house of home and family. So there are alternative ways of looking at family right now. You may have a little bit of restriction going on, but Saturn retrograde means that it can be a little bit more expansive like Jupiter. And so maybe there is a really high concentration focus on freedom at this time, and you may feel that that's falling short for you. So my apologies, my sincere sympathies is what I should say for that. Venus up in Leo in the house of career is a desire to be appreciated and connect with other people, taking leadership roles. It is the end degrees of Leo. So you're getting ready to have your desires shift from leadership and creativity and romance into more practical endeavors associated with getting your career going the way you want. And so it may be more administrative energy that we're bringing in the next couple of weeks as the Sun and Venus are in in Virgo. Mars in Gemini in the 8th house. So this can be duplicity. It can mean that there is someone who is doing one thing and saying another. It may mean that you have a couple different opportunities to bring in money for joint finances. Uranus in your 7th house of marriage and partnership means that there was an opportunity recently with that conjunction of Mars-Uranus North Node to meet somebody who is significant in your life, especially because the North Node is at 15 degrees, which is a world point. This is a major shift of energy around partnering and connection. And so now Mars has moved on into Gemini. We're having a little bit more communication issues. We're having saying one thing, doing another, maybe focused more on where the money's coming from. Where would the money come from if you were to be with this person? Uranus retrograded since that particular stellium, and so now there is also a walking back of the energy. And Jupiter's been retrograde since that connection. So yeah, there's definitely some other energy of self-absorption because Jupiter is in sextile to Mars. Both Aries and Gemini can be very self-centered energy in the lower forms. So you may be finding that this person that came in under that Mars-Uranus North Node conjunction is now acting a bit self-absorbed and pulling back on some level because of the retrogrades. That can shift again. Just know, especially associated with marriage, the asteroid Juno is in Pisces right now in the romance sector, and it went retrograde at the end of July. So it's retrograde through the end of October. And once that happens, there will be another shift of energy around marriage and moving forward with the focus on where that connection is heading. Saturn in Aquarius, did I say that? I don't know. Saturn in the house of home and family, unusual things happening, alternative ways of looking at things. I did say that. Pluto in the 3rd house means there's definitely some energy around restriction of communication. I have this chart basically 0 degrees. Scorpio is my rising, and Pluto is just about to go into house of home and family, but at the end degrees of Capricorn in the 3rd house, there's a restriction of communication. So you may feel like you're saying things and people are not listening to you, whatever it is you say. That energy will definitely shift next year, and it will go back into these degrees after it moves into Aquarius. But you only have 2 more years of small amounts of time where Pluto is in Capricorn again. So we really are at the end degrees of getting this energy shifted out of there and the lessons learned. And lessons are basically, you need to pay attention to yourself, trust your own intuition, trust your own inner voice, and let people who don't listen to you go, because it's about you now. You're not the responsible one for everyone else. Okay. Moving into Sagittarius energy, the focus is career and home and a lot of work. The energy that's majorly shifting for you is in the house of work and health. So if you are having an alternate view of some kind of health issue, that is a fated moment for you. And the North Node Uranus conjunct, they're working together to help you find alternative solutions for health issues, but also bringing in a shift of energy around understanding and how it relates in a physical, tangible manifestation with work and with health issues. Jupiter is in the sign of Aries, which is your house of romance, creativity, and children, acting a little bit more childish right now and really feeling like your needs are not getting met, and that's a difficult energy to be in. It will get better by the end of October when Jupiter goes into Pisces. It'll get more sentimental and a lot more emotional. But when Jupiter goes direct and then goes back into Aries, things are going to loosen up. Things are going to be working well and moving forward. So that's the energy you're looking forward to in the new year. And so it'll be, a good portion of the new year in Jupiter in Aries, and then Taurus come, I think, May or June. Jupiter gets to Taurus. Neptune in Pisces in the home and family. It is about, every time Neptune's direct, it's about appreciating family members for who they are and being very accepting and truly universally loving. When it goes retrograde, we see the flaws and we see how they affect us, and we want to pull back sometimes, or we want to cut off ties to people who hurt us. So we'll find that energy right now. Saturn in your 3rd house, lots of ideas popping, thinking about education on an elementary level, connecting to neighbors and siblings. This is a social energy because it is Aquarius energy. You are looking for soul groups, and Saturn retrograde acts like Jupiter, so you're a little bit more outgoing at times, but there is still a Saturn restriction energy, and it's opposing Venus right now in Leo. So it may feel like you're trying your best to make connections, but they're not necessarily coming to fruition. And that energy will be there for a little bit longer. Venus at 28 degrees, which is 2 more degrees, means that that's the opposition arc. And then once it gets out of that, it will wrap up energy in Leo. We'll find that maybe other friends are not the ones we thought they were, and we'll let go of those friendships. And it can also mean children energy is transitionary right now, and that you're focusing highly on your children and maybe even traveling to see your children. But when Venus goes into Virgo, it's going to be much more pragmatic and practical and career focused. Sun in your career house is starting to bring in some of this energy, so you're seeing it now. Mercury in 6 degrees of Libra, it is about cooperation with other people in the workplace, in the work environment, and career. And so partners, that may be on your mind a lot more right now. And then the moon will be going through the first, second, third, and fourth houses for the course of this week. So it is about self, money, communications, and family over the course of this coming week for you. And still, Pluto in last degrees of your second house is about really understanding the message about finances and not being so dogmatic and having to have things a certain way with money, but being more open to opportunities that you can get from that energy and help it to really grow and focus on yourself and not as much on what other people did or did not do. And then you'll feel much better. And let's see, early in the next week, well, I would say probably Tuesday, late Tuesday, Moon will join up with Pluto. I said it earlier in the podcast. If you want to re-listen to that, I tell where the moon is and the days that it's significant. But Moon joining with Pluto is going to be significant for trying to understand your money situation and your career situation and any authority or hierarchical issues that you're having, whether it's your hierarchy that you're in, that you're the boss, or someone above you. Okay, moving on to Capricorn. Capricorn, still the Pluto in the first house. Next year is the relief. And then Saturn in the second house. So Saturn, of course, rules Capricorn. So your first two houses of self and money and value of self are really being triggered and have been for quite some time now. But with Pluto changing signs next year, that will really relieve some of this energy. And then Saturn moves into Pisces. And so that's only a limited period of time next year, and it will be much stronger in 2024. But next year in March, a lot of this energy affects you and your money and your love situations. So just know that you've still got probably 8 or 9 months of a direct hit to this energy before the signs shift. And then you're going to have a taste of the new energy as it comes in. Later on next year, it's going to shift back, and then you will have to wrap up some stories. Pluto has 2 years left going through this area of the chart. Saturn will get out of this area of your chart and move into the third house in March of next year. Might have a small time back in the second, but definitely will move on. With Saturn in Aquarius, it means that you're really focused on alternative methods of doing your money situation, your love situation, how you express your values. And then when it goes into Pisces in the third house, it's going to be a very big dive into the water energy, into the emotional side of your life. And then you're going to have kind of a, I mean, I wish I could say it's going to be really joyous, but it's going to be intense and emotional. And so just anticipate that coming in next year for you, because normally there's the natural energy of the third house is Gemini, and it wants to be light and airy, but your chart has Pisces, which is always very intense and emotional. So part of your communication style is nonverbal. If you enhance the nonverbal, you express yourself that way, and then you start to look for ways of developing your intuition, then that's going to be much better for you come next year. Jupiter in your house of home and family. Again, you're kind of playing the tantrum, little kids tantrum role in the family. And you may have been really struggling with how family members are treating you lately, that you're not really getting the respect you feel you deserve. and probably things aren't going the way you would like them to go in a manifestation sense, like in an action based drive sense, that they're not following through the way you would like. Again, Jupiter going back into Pisces late October. That's going to be putting you more in your past energy, vintage, people from the past coming in, friends from the past, communication, nonverbal right now. Tantrums are kind of the way you're communicating, or anger or upset. And when Jupiter goes back into Pisces, it'll be much more calm and kind of hidden. Uranus is in your fifth house of romance, creativity, and children, and it is around earth element Taurus. And so there is a major shift around money, how you look at money, how you grow money, the people that you have in your life, whether or not your friends are always asking you for money, if you get money from friendships, that kind of thing, and romance. So Mars in Gemini now is in your house of work, which means that you're going to be focused more on more than one work environment or work means. Also, it could mean lung issues, because Mars in Gemini is the lungs. So breathing issues, and it can also bring up anxiety issues. It's a mental energy of Gemini, and Mars expands that mental energy. So we're kind of up in our minds in the work environment as well. Venus up in the Leo area, which is the eighth house for you, that's death and rebirth. Money in gambling or optimism, but late degrees in Leo can definitely bring, especially at the end of this week, before, I mean, when this goes up, moon will be in Sag, but with the moon late degrees Scorpio, which it is right now, you can see it's at 28 degrees of Scorpio. That's fraud, and that's a very concerning energy for anything starting the end of this week. So if you have in fact started some kind of legal action or have an issue with another person over money, watch out for them not being fully cooperative or expressive and all the truth of that matter. Sun in Virgo in your house of travel means you're very practical. You kind of don't want to travel with people. So if you are going to be traveling in the near future, you're probably going to be doing it alone, because that's really the more comfort zone, the bigger comfort zone for you. And yeah, that's what I see for you, Capricorn. Aquarius. We're rounding the home stretch, and Saturn is in your first house. So right now, Saturn retrograde is acting a little bit more expansive for you. You're really having an opportunity to go back over where you stand with the intellectual energies and the cooperation around doing your own thing, having the freedom you need and want in relationships. There's an opposition to Venus in your marriage and partnership house. So that may be a little skittish right now. Venus is about to change signs and go into Virgo in your eighth house. And so that puts more of a focus on money in the joint situation. So are you earning enough money? Is your partner earning enough money? What are the practical, tangible machinations of getting that money to come in? It is education. Virgo rules teachers, so you could potentially earn extra money in the house for education or being a teacher or a trainer. Mercury, also a ruler of Virgo, is in Libra, and it is about cooperation with others and a balance in that sense. So it is the house of commitment. So we're thinking about what the balance is and who I'm committed with and our partner and the money associated with that, because Mercury in Libra answers to Venus. Venus is about to go in Virgo in the eighth house. So it's kind of this big loop around understanding the practicality of money with regard to relationships. Moon for you is going to be in the 11th house, the 12th house, first and second houses this week. So it's going to be highlighting travel energy associated with people you know from work. It's going to be the 12th house with Capricorn early next week. And so it is much more being in your own personal energy and maybe withdrawing a little bit and tending to the practical matters of being you. It is also very literal energy that you're attracted to when people communicate, but it is the 12th house, so it's nonverbal. Pluto, deep psychological energy, retrograde in the 12th. So you're going to be really going over how you interact with people of authority, or if you have the authority yourself and where you are with that. It's all subliminal. It's all done behind the scenes. And I would say just be cautious. Pluto can be someone who knows information that you don't know. The 12th house is the house of the hidden and hidden enemies. So just know that there could be somebody working against you, especially in late degrees of Capricorn, that kind of concentrates the energy and information that you may not be privy to. Saturn in Aquarius, I believe we talked about that. Neptune in the second house, Jupiter in the third. Neptune in the second house is going to be much more intuitive about money, and you may feel like you don't really want to do a lot to get money. You're definitely the type of person who will allow it to come to you. And, the Virgo people call that lazy, but intuitive and psychic people understand work smarter, not harder. And that's kind of your mantra. The energy comes to you. So when you focus on the vision and then release it, you can manifest. You're a really good manifester with envisioning things and doing some affirmations. Jupiter in the third house, again, the way you communicate is going to be much more brash with Aries energy. And then, of course, it's answering to Mars in Gemini, which is the Leo house, or the creativity and romance and leadership house. So for you right now, you've got a cooperative energy between Jupiter and Mars, with the exception of Jupiter being retrograde. So you're really kind of in your self energy, in your kind of, if I don't get my way, I don't like it, I'm going to let everybody know. So just be aware of that. You could also be a little more blunt for your own good. So, I know this is the lower energy of Gemini and Jupiter, but you are capable of recognizing when words have wounded. So if you have hurt somebody through your words, just give them an apology and try and move on, which is the Jupiter energy. Uranus for you is in the house of home and family. And so there are alternate ways of looking at things with family members. Maybe there are unusual things happening around money and around, at least financially, or in your romantic couples area. Taurus rules love and money. And so, we have issues of letting go of people in the home life and around the home. So Uranus wants to detach from the emotion. So that issue may be coming up for you as well in your home life. Yeah, so I think that's what I've got for you, Aquarius. And then finally, Pisces. Pisces, we've got your energy. Obviously, Neptune in the first house is fixated on the subliminal way of connecting to the world around you. You just absorb energy from everywhere. So use the opposite energy of the Virgo season right now, Sun and incoming Venus, to really ground. And for you, grounding really works around partners. And then we've got Jupiter in your second house of money. So it may seem really frustrating right now. Sales are generally your modus operandi for getting money, at least something. Sales, emergency work, police, etc. That all is under Aries. It could be construction, something done physically with your hands, or building something. But Jupiter expands all that until it goes retrograde, when it acts like Saturn. And so that part of your life is going to be a little more frustrating right now, especially opposite Mercury in Libra. So you're much more reliant on other people for bringing in money right now than you would really want to be. Jupiter loves freedom, and it's in the house of money, financial freedom. In Aries, tantrums. So yeah, definitely young child energy, where you don't want to wait for the outcome. You don't want to be patient. You just want it now. So know that it's going to be frustrating on that front. And then a sextile to early Mars in Gemini in the home sector. That's also, it's a cooperative energy, but it may mean that you have to rely on family members or siblings to bring in some extra income because of the Jupiter retrograde in your house of finance. Venus in Leo ending its time in your work house, which means that's a leadership expansion and desire for recognition. But it's also, like I said, the end of this week, Moon was in Scorpio, squaring Venus in late degree Leo. So there's a fraud aspect, or somebody isn't being completely truthful with you. And just know that, that energy will transmute and be exposed as Venus gets into the seventh house, which will be the end of the week. Okay, Mercury does go retrograde in your house of joint finances, and it goes back into Virgo as well, which is marriage and partnership. So you're going to be going over finances, and then seeing how it makes your partner feel in the near future. So over the course of this coming month, in the next 3, well, Mercury goes retrograde on the 10th, And so for 3 weeks after that, you will be experiencing the energy of really trying to get to the heart of the matter with a partner. Yeah, Pluto in your house of people connected with career, and it's in Capricorn. So what this message is for you to release a lot of the sense of ownership and responsibility for other people, even if it's in a group setting or an organizational setting. You have to start breaking off of all ownership so that people can start to take on their own responsibility and you can move on from that. Saturn in the 12th house in Aquarius retrograde is going back over some of the ideas you've had about doing your own thing. Could be a creative endeavor that you've been wanting, like a hobby, to turn into a business career or an avocation. So we're going and tweaking that right now while Saturn is retrograde. Saturn does go direct in October along with Pluto, so that will release a lot of that energy that's been reviewing things on how to make that happen. Then Saturn next year goes into Pisces in your first house, and you'll have a much broader opportunity to really bring home some money from creative endeavors. Okay, so that is the horoscope section this week. Okay, so let's see about Keanu, if we've got him in here. It's going to be very short, I can guarantee. Okay, Keanu Reeves was born 8 days before me, so I always like to look at his chart. He's got 4 planets in Virgo, and Sun, Mercury, Uranus, and Pluto all clustered above the horizon. This chart has him born at 5:41 a.m. Beirut, Lebanon, just after sunrise, which means that he was a Virgo rising, is a Virgo rising. Gosh, knock wood on that one. No, he is a Virgo rising. And so what is he going through this year on his birthday? He's got natally Venus, Mars, Moon in Cancer. So he's very much in the mother energy and the supportive, nurturing energy. He can be a bit OCD about things. I don't think you necessarily know that about him, but I could totally see that. He's eccentric a little bit, and he's got Saturn at the early degree of Pisces, but over the course of his lifetime, he's had Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, which has made him very eclectic and eccentric. And that fell in his house of romance and a little bit in his house of work. But Saturn in, let's see, when he was 54, so right now he's going to be 58. When he was 54, Saturn by progression turned direct. And so all his life it had been retrograde. And then it turned direct when he turned 54. And so now it's moving forward. And next year, when it goes in, when it in the sky goes into Pisces, it will bring in even more opportunity with movies. I would not be surprised if he does something to actually promote movies himself, where he's actually in charge of them, because Saturn is ownership of that format and that formula. He may even get into photography. I don't know if he does photography, but photography is really accented with Pisces in the house of work and Saturn in Pisces. And then now, as he's got Saturn going direct, it's moving forward, wrapping up the old story around Aquarius. So he's really kind of an old soul, you know, this generation of Saturn, and even the next one 28 years later, early 90s, I believe they also have Saturn in Pisces and Aquarius, depending on what time. And so the people with late Aquarius, early Pisces, Saturn are really aware of all the energy as we get into the age of Aquarius with Pluto going into Aquarius. They've already lived the end degrees of Aquarius. So they're very familiar with the energy of Aquarius and eccentricity and genius and alternate ways of looking at things. They are kind of the consummate people who accept everybody for who they are, because the late Aquarius, early Pisces degrees, late Aquarius rules the collective. It rules what we have in common as a group. And then Pisces, we merge as a group. And so these people know universal love. They don't separate people out and say, this person is less valuable because of the color of their skin or their gender or whatever it is that may make them unique in society. They embrace the uniqueness and they love them anyway, because Saturn in Pisces. So Neptune in Scorpio, he sees through the BS. He sees what's going on. He's not stupid by any stretch. He's got a grand trine of Neptune, Moon, possibly Venus, but Moon for sure, and Saturn in Pisces. So this grand trine energy, even though it doesn't really show up on this chart, If you look at the Scorpio house, the Pisces house, and the Cancer house, he's got planets in all three. So he is sensitive, and he can use this intense energy of Neptune, ruler of Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, and then Moon, ruler of Cancer, in Cancer, to his advantage. And really, he has done this really amazing job all his career of having this very stoic, almost unreadable persona of vacancy on his face, and yet being able to resonate with huge quantities of audience goers, and people just project onto him whatever it is they want him to be. And he's kind of got that kind of face, I think, to just, he has a deeper life, but he doesn't really express it. So he's kind of a hard person to read. I've always found a little bit hard to read. And his early roles, he always seemed a little vapid, but he is a very deep feeling person by his chart. He's got Jupiter in Taurus. And so Uranus going through Taurus right now is bringing out a higher heightened awareness of the tangible things going on in the world. Having it up in the Sagittarius house is very spiritually connected to the earth. And transit of Mars in Gemini, he's got another movie probably. If he comes out with a movie then, doing very well, of course, because Mars on your midheaven is fame, and Gemini is very charismatic. So he's got that energy, that masculine energy of Mars in Gemini, being really charismatic in the public eye. So Pluto for him falls in his house of romance, creativity, and children. He natally has Pluto just above the horizon, if this is an accurate birth time. And that can really bring some heartache in a person's life, because that degree is the end of life. And so he has the planet that rules death and rebirth on the end degree of the zodiac, the final moments before it turns into a new sign at the beginning of the ascendant. He's got Uranus, so it's unexpected death he may have to deal with, and his Virgo mind can put him on edge about stuff. So I think definitely in this chart, especially with Uranus in Virgo right on the horizon, is making him more detached from deeper emotional qualities of people. In Virgo, it's very mental, mercurial energy. So the stellium Uranus, Pluto, Mercury can really make a person detached. In Virgo, a little more robotic. So that I think also contributes to his persona as, like Neo in the Matrix, and being kind of that blank robotic look. But he is very deep feeling about humanity, and he is a great teacher. Virgo is the sign of the teacher in the zodiac, along with Gemini. But Mercury, Sun, Uranus, Pluto conjunct in Virgo and a Virgo rising, he will have tremendous effects on the masses with that energy in his chart. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do for today. And thank you very much for showing up and watching. I will put timestamps down in the description. Please do share if you are so inclined. Thank you very much for joining me. Take care. We'll see you next week. Mercury is in your sign of
Hey, this is Shelley. I wanted to give you a heads up that there are a lot of new art prints at ShelleyOverton.com. So go over there and check them out. ShelleyOverton.com. Thanks.
To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com. Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at Astro Energy Astrology Show.